Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. With this one, my friends, I'm going to be testing a GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super in Ghost of Tsushima. This one is the MSI Ventus 3X version of the card. We are running it with the latest Nvidia drivers, and I am overclocking it a little bit over here, just to put it on par with the average 4070 Ti Super, because the Ventus 3X is like 2% behind. It's not a big deal though, this actually puts it a little bit above average. Over in Tech Power-Ups GPUs, you can see all of the GPU specs. Resizable bar is also enabled, and we got 16 gigabytes of GDDR6X memory, nice. And over on the left, we're pairing it with a Ryzen 9 7950X 3D CPU with half of its cores disabled, which makes it pretty much the same as a Ryzen 7 7800X 3D. Great pairing for this card, and 32 gigabytes of DDR5 6000 MHz RAM in dual channel CL30. Let's get into it, shall we? And let's go over the settings first. I'm starting at 1080p resolution, and I'm also going to test this one at 1440p and 4K using DLAA right here, which is by far the best anti-aliasing method out of all of these. And it only drops 1 or 2 FPS compared to like TAA, while looking much better. This is native resolution, by the way. A lot of people think that this is upscaling. On the graphics settings, I have maxed it out basically, so it's higher than the very high preset here. We got things on Ultra right now, HBAO Plus, and that's it. Let's go. All right, here we go. It's been a while since it was this smooth. Oh, yes. Oh, it is butter, my friends. Let's start counting our FPS. We're going to the temple area, which I found to be the most intensive area, at least that I've come across so far. Now, in terms of graphical fidelity, it isn't really the best game out there, obviously. Far from it, actually. But it does look pretty decent with its art style. I just wish, once again, that we had better looking textures, because these textures, look at the tree, for example, over there. Yeah, it's pretty lackluster, isn't it? These are the maximum textures for this game, basically, and it sucks. It should have had an ultra texture setting, in my opinion, but it's not the end of the world. Again, it's just the art style is pretty beautiful, you know, like the saturation and so on, and it runs absolutely flawlessly on this GPU, obviously. Now let's keep on going. We wasted a lot of time fighting those few guys over there. Frame time graph in this game is so good. It feels really, really smooth. But as I was saying, other games, older games, do look better, more detailed and stuff like that, and they also run better. So you could say it's not really that well optimized. But the reason why I say it's well optimized is, first of all, it doesn't stutter like 99% of games out there these days. Second, it does perform better than any other title that have come out this year, I think. Even Forbidden West, which was well optimized, probably better optimized than this. It runs a little bit worse, you know, but it also looks like 5 times better, so there's that. But you gotta remember that even though it doesn't get a ton of FPS with these super high-end, very expensive GPUs, it also scales down a lot. You know, I have tested the GTX 1650 as well, and that was playable at 1080p medium settings while not looking that much different from this. And by the way, if you play this game on high instead of the maximum settings, or even on very high instead of ultra right here, it will also perform a heck of a lot better. You're gonna gain like 20 FPS going to very high, and then from very high to high, another 20 FPS, and then you're talking about like high 100s in terms of the frames. Still, there's no point in doing that with a card like this, and in a single player title like this as well, because, you know, you should enjoy the visuals, so might as well max it out if your card can provide a great experience like this. You know what, I'm kind of curious actually to see frame generation on top of native resolution with DLAA. It gets you another like 20 frames per second, so it's not really worth utilizing unless it was like 200 frames per second. Maybe then I would consider it a little bit. Hello. They didn't spot me somehow. So yeah, that's the result for frame generation, around 20 more FPS. You could max out like a 144Hz monitor like this, but what's the point really? It gets a little bit softer with FG as well. So again, just enjoy the highest visuals at native resolution with DLAA if you're playing at 1080p. Now, I don't know how many people are playing at 1080p with a GPU this expensive. I hope not a lot of people. So let's move on to 1440p resolution next, okay? This is where the 4070 Ti shines, really, and then at 4K a little bit as well in some games. But yeah, Nvidia themselves target this GPU at 1440p gaming, and at 1440p maximum settings, almost. Actually, it's not complete maximum settings because there is another option for the ambient occlusion, but I'm not sure if it's better or worse than HBAO, honestly. I've never seen that AA before. It's XC something, and kind of sounds like Intel's things, you know? XC something, XCGTAO, whatever. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Gee, what the heck? Okay, that worked. I jumped instead of dodging, and it actually worked. Oh boy. Right, so at 1440p, since this is 78% higher of a resolution than 1080p, you can see a lot more detail. The game definitely starts looking a little bit prettier right now, although since it doesn't have a ton of details because of its art style, it doesn't make as big of a difference as another game like Cyberpunk would, for example. But still, you can definitely notice it. The sharpness is way better right now, especially on my 32-inch monitor, and this is probably the resolution that I would end up recommending for this GPU. First, because again, it is targeted at this res, and second, because it does very well at this res. That's why it's targeted at 1440p, right? I mean, in pretty much every title out there, you can expect high FPS. This one, again, for how it looks, I would expect higher FPS than these. It's a little bit of a shame that we can't really achieve super high refresh rate here without enabling DLSS and frame generation and stuff. But at the same time, single player title, you know, we're maxing things out here. And again, you can expect like 15, 20 more FPS if you drop things down just to the very high preset. But it's not needed. It's still well above like 70 FPS 100% of the time. Oh, wait a second. Oh my god, Roach. Jeez, are you okay? I finally found this area with some purple or pink, actually, flowers. I wondered where these were, because on the art of the game, you know, when you buy the game, there's a store with the little images and stuff. There are a lot of images showing these pink flowers, and it looks beautiful, you know. Moving through the fields right here, 80-ish FPS. Very good still. Wow, this is beautiful. I wish it was daytime, actually, like midday or something, because this all looks the same. It's just orange right now. But it could look green and white and with the blue of the sky and the river there as well. It would be great. Let's enable frame generation on top of DLAA. This looks very similar to native resolution at 1440p, and we get a little bit of an improvement right there, 100-ish FPS, 100 plus. So basically we're getting around the same FPS as we got at 1080p native resolution, but we're at 1440 with FG. FG does introduce a little bit of input lag, but at above 100 FPS it's barely noticeable. I don't really mind it, honestly. It also starts utilizing a bit more VRAM at the same time, but it's still at 11 gigabytes of usage there, so no problem, and 12 gigabytes of allocated VRAM. That's what the A and U stand for after the VRAM, by the way. So yeah, even a 12 gigabyte GPU would be capable of running FG here at maximum settings in 1440p resolution native, but obviously it's good to have those extra 4 gigabytes on the 4070 Ti Super and the other AMD GPUs like 7800 XT. Again, FG is going to put you at 100 plus FPS all of the time. Let's find out about the DLSS quality here at 1440p. You might want to use DLSS quality for an even higher refresh rate experience, and as you can see, we're up into the 120s and 130s at times. It is a bit softer, though, than DLSS frame generation enabled over native resolution or DLAA, but I guess it's a tiny bit smoother, and on like a 27-inch monitor, 1440p with high PPI, you know, 107 PPI on those monitors, you should be fine. It probably is still noticeable, the difference in softness, but I mean, it doesn't look more soft with DLSS quality at 1440p in this game than like other titles with native resolution, because usually, as you probably know, these days developers just use TAA left and right and bad implementations of it, and it just ends up getting very, very soft games. But yeah, in this game, probably because of its simplistic art style, Pro over here from the simpler graphics. The DLSS and the upscalers do work really well, especially the frame generation stuff. It's really, really impressive how it looks in this one. Now, let's try DLSS quality plus frame generation. Why not, right? This is what Nvidia is always showing in their demos and stuff. This gets slightly softer again than DLSS quality alone. It's probably not that noticeable again on a smaller monitor. It should still look fine, but I wouldn't do this, guys. I mean, you do get very high FPS, and it's impressive to see those results right now on screen. Even in an intensive area like this one, it is not dropping from 140, right? That's really good. But yeah, I just think since it runs so well already at 1440p native resolution, or even 1440p with FG enabled at the same time, there's no need to soften up the image a little bit more, especially in a single-player, story-driven title. Let's bump it up now to 4K resolution. I'm gonna disable DLSS again and the frame generation. And let's go up 3840 by 2160. And by the way, I'm not restarting the game because it's not needed whenever you don't swap things from VRAM into the RAM. There's no need to restart when you're testing like frame generations and stuff like that. But if you are testing frame generation and some things that should be on VRAM start spilling into the RAM because you don't have enough VRAM, then you actually need to restart, make a little bit of a reset to the memory, so you get the best performance. Still, in this title, I have tested that, and I haven't really seen much of a difference, though. Now, 4K native resolution is a bit too much for a 4070 Ti Super in this title, which is underwhelming, again, considering the graphics. Yeah, I was certainly expecting it to perform at 60 FPS after testing like the 3060 for first video, you know. I was expecting these 50 FPS after I tested the 4080 Super, because that one also dipped down from 60 sometimes, although it was more often close to 70 FPS. But yeah, it is what it is. 4K resolution is a huge res. It's very hard to run, and maybe, I guess, the game could have been a little bit better optimized to take advantage of these higher-end GPUs at 4K resolutions and so on, but I'm not mad at its performance because there is a very good option that you can enable to achieve those 60 FPS that won't really impact visuals whatsoever, and that is dynamic resolution scaling. Just set it to 60 right here, use DLAA at the same time, and this will lower the resolution scale to a point where it reaches 60 FPS. Now, since it's not dropping the resolution down enough to match even DLSS quality, and since DLSS quality already looks really, really nice here at 4K, that's 67% resolution scale, by the way, you're probably getting like DLSS ultra quality visuals. In some games, DLSS ultra quality is an option, and it's like 77% resolution scale, I think, or 75%, and it just looks like native, basically. This looks like I am just using DLAA, but now we're at 60 FPS all of the time, and it won't move from that, because whenever it would get a little bit lower FPS, it would just drop down the internal resolution again. And with that DLAA on top, everything's super sharp and detailed, even at the distance. Like, I'm looking at the trees at the distance, and it is absolutely flawless. I can't see a shimmery edge. It doesn't look soft right now. It's pretty sharp, you know, at 32 inches. The PPI is also pretty high on a 32-inch 4K monitor. That's why I used to utilize a 42-inch monitor for these videos. But you know, most people will probably have 32-inch monitors, so this is a little bit better to tell you about the visuals and stuff. Oh, God. Okay. Oh, boy. No. Wait. Let me take care of this one first. Okay. Now you, sir. There we go. Leader killed, and we have learned the water stance again. I thought we had already went through this, but I keep reloading the same game sometimes, so yeah. Now, if you're wondering how it runs with the upscaling set to DLSS quality and how it looks, yeah, I can't really see much of a difference visual quality-wise, guys. Maybe it's slightly, ever so slightly, I can't. I'm honest here, guys, okay? I'm not gonna say I'm noticing a difference when I'm not noticing a difference. Maybe while running, And on the shoulder thingy that I got going on right there, it's a little bit less detailed. I'm really trying. I can't notice any faults here with the DLSS quality at 4K res. I mean, if you're about that DLSS quality life at 4K, which honestly looks really impressive again, in pretty much all of the titles that I've been playing for the last year or so, I've always played with DLSS quality 4K, 4080 Super recently, 4080 before it, 3080 Ti before it, and even 3060 Ti back in 2020 or 2021 when Nvidia sent it to me. I was playing games at 4K resolution using quality DLSS mostly, but also performance DLSS, and I was having a really great time, even with that GPU. Now, it can even go higher, obviously, if you want to, by utilizing frame generation on top of the DLSS quality. I wouldn't do frame generation on top of DLAA native, because then you'd get the input lag of around native FPS, which would be 50s, and it wouldn't feel as smooth or responsive. But yeah, this way, on a 32-inch monitor, I can start noticing a little bit of softness, like it's noticeable now, whereas previously I'd be hard-pressed to notice anything, right? But you do get like 20, 30 more FPS sometimes. It's a smoother experience on a high refresh rate monitor, but I think if you're looking for that buttery smooth experience, 80 FPS is still really nice. And now that's been it for this video, my friends. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you would choose to play on if you had this GPU, or if you have this GPU, let me know what you're playing on, or if you're gonna pick up this game because you watched this video. That helps me know that I am useful somehow. And then I'll be happier with myself and make more videos. So yeah, leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Love you all. Bye-bye.